Hey there, grade 8s. Welcome to lesson 8 of chapter 3. Like I said, this is a long chapter. In this lesson, we're going to be talking about problem solving using fractions. All right, so I have a couple that I'm going to share with you, and we're going to go over them and just some tips that might help you out. All right, so the first question that we're talking about goes like this. So Cassie worked on her science project. So she's got a science project. And it says for 3/4 of an hour on Tuesday, and she worked for 5/6 of an hour on Wednesday. Okay, she spent Thursday finishing up her math homework. So math was Thursday. All right, I might have to switch markers. So the first question is there's A. It said, how long did she work on her science projects all together? Well, when we're talking about all together, we would be talking about these two things combined. So if we're putting two things together, then we'd be adding them. So we have to actually add these two fractions. So if you want to go ahead and try to add, so we have 3/4 plus 5/6. Okay, I have to go and I have to find a common denominator. Okay, in this case, it's going to be 12. Okay, so I have to find an equivalent fraction for 3/4, where my denominator is 12, so I have to multiply both of them by 3. So I get 9/12, plus multiply both of these by 2, and I get 10/12. Now I can add them together, and I get 19/12, which is the same as 1 7/12 hours. Right? So that's part A. Part B, how much longer did Cassie work on the project on Wednesday than on Tuesday? So we're asking kind of a comparison between the 2 days. So if we're talking about a comparison, then we would be talking about subtraction. Okay, subtraction. Because it's saying how much longer. Okay, longer would be an indication that we're looking for the difference. So we would say 5/6 minus 3/4. And we would do the same thing that we had, so we'd have these same fractions. So 10/12 minus 9/12, so that would give us 1/12, because we're subtracting the numerators only, right? So she worked 1/12 of an hour longer, okay? Next it says altogether, so in total, I think that's talking about all the days, Cassie spent 2 hours on schoolwork over the 3 days. So that's perfect. So 1, 2, 3 days. So we're talking about all 3 days. How long did Cassie spend on her math homework? Okay, so C, we're trying to figure out how long she spent on the math homework. So what we're doing here is we're actually looking for, because she spent 2 hours total. So if we have 2 minus 1 and 7/12. All right. So what we can actually do, similar to previous, is we can actually borrow, okay? So we can borrow from here. So we can say 1 and 12/12 minus 1 and 7/12, okay? So we can do kind of a couple options here. We can subtract the whole number. So 1 minus 1 is going to be 0. And now we're just subtracting 12 and 7, and that's going to give us 5/12. So we can then say that she worked 5/12 of an hour on her math project. All right. So that is the first question. Okay, so that one's specifically talking about adding and subtracting, which is something that we did in grade 7. So hopefully that is a good refresher for you. So our second problem that we're going to work through together says Dakota volunteered as a gift at a gift wrapping booth for local charity. Okay, he volunteered for 2 3/4 hours. 3/4 hours, and wrapped 11 gift boxes. So he wrapped 11 gifts. Okay, his friend Winona, so this is Dakota, and then we've got Winona, and it says Winona volunteered 1 1/3 times as long. So 1 1/3 times as long. Okay, so we have Dakota and then we have Winona. So the first question, so we have A is asking, how long did Dakota spend wrapping each gift box? How long did it take Dakota to wrap one? We know how long it took him to wrap 11, but we're trying to figure out how long it took for one. So then it also says, what assumptions do you make? What assumptions do you make? So let's talk about this first. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to take this and we're going to try to break it down into 1. So we know it for 11 and we're going to find it for 1. So 2 3/4. Okay, if we're trying to bring it down, we're going to be dividing. Okay, so we're going from 11 to 1, so that's kind of like a ratio. So we're going to divide. So let's see. First, I'm going to change this into a improper fraction. So 4 times 2 is 8 plus 3 is 11 over 4 divided by 11 over 1. Okay. Now I'm going to change this into a multiplication question. So I have 11 over 4 times 1 over 11. Now I can actually cancel out my 11s, and I'm going to be left with 1/4. Okay, so basically what we're saying is it took Dakota 1/4 of an hour to wrap each gift. Okay, then the second part of that question is, what assumptions do you make? Well, what would you think? Okay, for me, my assumption would be, well, we have to assume that maybe is Dakota wrapping gifts nonstop. So he's literally going from one gift to another gift to another gift to another gift, because it's a gift wrapping booth. So you're not always busy. You don't have people lined up nonstop. So it maybe took them that long, but maybe they didn't have that many customers. So does that necessarily mean that it takes Dakota 15 minutes to wrap one gift? We don't know. Okay, these are different assumptions. So we are assuming that Dakota has gift after gift after gift. All right. How many hours did Winona volunteer? Okay, so that's part B. So we know that Winona worked 1 1/3 times as long. Okay, and that phrase itself is literally telling us what we need to do. Because if Dakota worked this long, Winona worked even longer. So they worked that many times. So they worked all of that plus 1/3. Okay? Well, not necessarily plus, but times, plus 1/3 of that. So we're going to multiply them together. So we have 2 3/4, and we're multiplying it by 1 1/3. Okay? So there's a couple ways we can do this. We can multiply the whole numbers first, and then we can multiply the fractions, and then we can add them together, or we can just turn it into a improper fraction. I'll do it both ways. Okay, so the first one, I'm going to say 2 times 1. That doesn't really work out. So I'd have to go. I'd have to go 2 times 1, 2 times 1/3, 1 times 3/4, and 1 times 2. So let's do it this way. Let's go. 4 times 2 is 8, plus 3 is 11 over 4, times 3 times 1 is 3, plus 1 is 4 over 3. Now let's go and multiply it across. Well, we can simplify it first. So we get rid of those. And then we have 11 over 3, which can be simplified to 3 2/3 hours. So who worked more? We have 2 3/4 and 3 2/3. Okay, so we can see that Winona actually worked longer. She worked over 3 hours. So does that make sense? Yes. Okay, our answer would be valid that way. Okay, so I'm just going to leave it that way because this is probably the simplest way to solve this type of a question. So you're going to have a bunch more possible word problems. What I would suggest is maybe you take a highlighter, highlight those special words, okay? When you see the words like times or longer or like more, difference, okay? Those are special words that are going to tell you what operation you are going to be using, Okay, write down your important information, okay, so that you can actually see it. Don't just go number search, write down what is important, all right? Once again, if you have questions, bring those questions to the Zoom chat or the Zoom class, or contact me through Hangouts. All right, good luck.